How are we, my friends? You are very welcome along to Friday night's late night agenda. The good news, your weekend has now officially started. The Reds in action tomorrow, 5:30 against a Wolves team who are, well, they're blinded at the moment by an illness, a virus that's going through the camp. So, yeah, it should be a fairly straightforward evening if all goes to plan. But of course, it's the Premier League, so you can never count your chickens. I hope you're all ready for a good weekend, and I hope that life's treating you well. Good to hear back from our friends over in America that they're all safe as well, those who are in the pathway of the storm, or the hurricane I should say. It's good news to hear that Nick and the people that we know were in harm's way there are safe and well as well. So yes, we are good to go, my friends. So look, as always, we're going to go through the title, we're going to go through the thumbnail, we're going to go through everything that you want to talk about tonight, and I'll answer your questions as best as I can. Now, of course, you guys know, and I at least hope you know, it isn't us saying Salah's going to Saudi. We're actually going to rubbish this because of where it comes from. But look, all that over the next while. Let me just fix something actually really quickly. Just got to fix where my camera position is. 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. Just had to center myself in the shot. So look, for those of you who are in nice and early, I'm going to give you the good news on that one nice and early. Around the Mohamed Salah thing, look, I'll read it out exactly as it's written, and you can decide for yourself how stupid it is. So, according to Gabriel Agbonlahor, so let's just start off by saying again, according to Gabriel Agbonlahor, whose source seems to be, trust me bro, he said, I know Salah is going. I've got a source that told me Salah is definitely leaving on a record contract with Saudi. He'll earn more than Ronaldo and he'll be the face of the Saudi league. I would say he's full of it, personally. And again, I would hope that Rami Abbasisa or Mohamed Salah or Liverpool or somebody has the backbone to step up here and call out Agbonlahor for the nonsense that he's spouting. If anybody is going to break a story about Mohamed Salah and a move away, I'm not going to have it be a Gabriel Agbonlahor that we're all getting worked up about. Because Gabriel Agbonlahor, well, let's just say I wouldn't be putting too much faith in what he has to say, nor would I pay too much attention to what he has to say around anything football related, to be honest. So that's where this story comes from. Gabriel Agbonlahor, I believe it was on TalkSport, said that his source tells him that Salah has agreed a deal to move to Saudi and that it will be a record contract there, earning more money than Cristiano Ronaldo and anybody else. Again, we can only report it, my friends. It's up to you to give me your thoughts on it, and I'm sure your thoughts are probably the same as mine. Bullshit, quite frankly. Scotty, how are we, mate? 41 months on the channel. Much love, Craig. We get the W tomorrow, hopefully, and go top with Newcastle versus 115 Charges FC. Scotty, it's been incredible, mate. 41 months, a member of the channel. It's been lovely getting to know you, mate, over these 41 months as well. So, thank you for your continued support, my friend. Troy said, not gonna lie, Salah's time is up. I want him to leave. It's been a joy, but time for the future. Wow. I mean, look, Troy, I'm not going to go in on you, mate. You're entitled to your opinion. I mean, I would probably disagree with you a little bit, to be honest, bro. But of the three that are up for contract extensions, he's the one that I certainly think is the trickiest to get sorted out. But I don't think that his time is up. I think he's got at least a couple more years left in him at the top level. But I just don't put much faith or belief in this story from Gabriel Agbonlahor. And I'm going to ask you, do you believe it? So let me just get a poll up in the chat. 1 second. Let me just write this out for you. How do you spell his name? Right, there we go. Did I spell that right? Agbonlahor. I think I've spelled it right, have I? Don't want to disrespect somebody by misspelling their name. So, right, so the way I've worded this, my friends, is I've said, do you believe Agbonlahor that Salah is leaving for Saudi? And I'll let you vote away in it, yes or no. It's there at the top of the chat now for you guys to have your say. So we'll we'll get this one out of the way. We'll keep it running in the background, and of course we'll move on to speak about other subjects. Just a reminder as well, tomorrow we're going to actually revert back to the old way we did our watch-along. So we'll do the watch-along and then we'll do our match reaction afterwards. So we'll have a little break, come back in and do it. And we're going to be giving you guys the chance in the match reaction to submit your player ratings for the game. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow as well in our match reaction show. Paul Ward said Gabby said it last season. I'd say, look, he's not the only one. I've heard that former Everton chief executive all summer say that he thinks Salah's going to leave and go to Saudi that summer, and it didn't happen. Look, I don't believe Agbonlahor has a source that has any credibility on this. That's just my take on it. Now, of course, it's impossible for me to say one way or the other because I don't know what his so-called source is. But I can say to you, if somebody's going to report that Salah's agreed a deal to go to Saudi, I'd need it to be a little bit better than Gabriel Agbonlahor before I start believing it, personally. I'd need it to be a David Ornstein, a Paul Joyce, a Fabrizio Romano, a David Lynch. Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting much faith in this one. I think, look, I'll be honest, I think Agbonlahor talks a load of shite a lot of the time. But that's me. That's my personal view of him. Troy, again, said, I know Salah still scores, but when was the last time he actually beat his man on the wing? So, I guess, Troy, again, I hear where you're coming from, but from me, mate, I would say players often change their game a little bit when they get older. And Salah maybe doesn't beat a man as well as he used to. I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement with you on that one. But I would say, Troy, he's added in lots of other things to his game as he's gotten older that I think still gives him huge benefit to the team. I think his range of passing is better than it used to be. I think his decision making, yeah, okay, we could probably work on that a bit at times, but I just don't believe that it would be prudent of us to let him go. I think he still has a couple of years left at the top level. The only thing that I've always been really consistent on, Troy, is I hate the idea of him leaving for free. So if we were ever to sell him, that would have been a different scenario. But watching him walk out the door for free, it would sting, mate. I can't lie, it would sting. LFC said, I think 1 year contract for Salah. I can tell you flatly he wouldn't sign that. So that's where the problem is probably going to be here. I think the club would look at maybe 2 years. I think Mo might want 3 years, but there's no chance of a 1 year extension. I mean, I would be absolutely blown away if he signed a 1 year extension because it doesn't really solve anything. You're still having this same conversation then over the summer. Will he move on? Will he sign a pre-contract in January? It doesn't give you any real closure on it. So I don't think myself personally it'll be 1 year over losing him. I mean, I'll be honest about that as well. Garfu, how are you, bro? And I'll get to Cody. I'll get to yours in a minute, mate. Sorry, there's a few super chats came in there while I was chatting. Right, Craig, I'm doing a motion graphic schedule at uni. Would it be okay for me to use an intro for the channel using some clips and bits? Would it to make an intro? Of course, man. Look, we're a community channel, bro. If you ever need anything from us or you want to use some of our clips on something for college or anything, mate, anyway, we can help out. And if you wanted to try and make an intro for the channel, have at it, bro. I'd love to see it. So yeah, please do. If you ever want to reach out to us, mate, you know, contact at AnfieldAgenda.com is our email. If you need any little bits or anything from us to help you out, we'd be happy to do it, mate. So thank you for thinking of us, and absolutely no problem with that one. Cody, gaming and football. How are you, my friend? Nice to see you in again. Said, if Salah leaves, we have to cash in January. We have an array of options. Our whole team is firing, and we shouldn't keep him against his will. So what I would say to you is, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say that Rami Abbas Issa has told the football club that there's no chance of a sale. Liverpool are not going to be able to sell Mohamed Salah in January. And I can totally understand their thought process on it. Why would they throw away money? Like, if they were going to leave Liverpool, they're going to want to sign their own bonus. They're not going to lose that so Liverpool can get a bit of a transfer fee. This is what we keep talking about, leverage in these negotiations and these stances. And Liverpool don't really have much at the minute other than, you know, we want you to stay. So I don't think there's any way that Mo or his agent would agree to being sold in January. And it would really disrupt their season as well, let's be honest about that. Stevie boy, really kind of you, bro. Thank you so much. That's an incredibly generous super chat, mate. Thank you. So some fans saying Salah needs to move on, but you trust these owners to bring in a world-class player, or do you trust these owners? No, is the answer there for me. If I'm being really bluntly honest with you, Stevie boy, if we were to lose Salah in the near future, I wouldn't have faith in them doing anything other than trying to justify that Chiesa is the replacement. Or Ben Doak to come back in and work with Chiesa to be the replacement. So I'm with you, Stevie boy. I have no faith. I actually read the comments earlier on in one of our videos, and somebody said, I don't know if it was a dig at me, if it was a dig at all of us, or if it was just a conversational point, but they said, isn't it funny how it's gone quiet now around all the FSG out stuff? And as I said, I don't know if they were aiming that comment at me or the channel in general, but no, it hasn't gone quiet. It's just, there's no point in us banging on about it, because everybody will get sick of it. You know, you talk about these things in and around transfer windows when we can maybe up the pressure a little bit or voice our displeasure. Our audience don't want me banging on about FSG all the way through the season, because it's distracting, it's negative, and I don't like to be negative, believe it or not. I like to be positive, and I'll talk about FSG when it's time to talk about them, which is transfer window time, because that's my big complaint with them. You know, I'm not one of these people that's FSG out and that's the end of everything. I try to balance stuff out, and if they're not acting in the market, that's usually when I speak up, because that's the time that pisses me off the most, if I'm being honest. If competition with Saudi for Salah, Saudi can wait till the end of the season. There's no way, I can say this to you categorically, there is no way Salah's leaving Liverpool Football Club before the end of this season. That is just not going to happen. Liverpool wouldn't allow it to happen. The player, I don't think, would want it to happen. Everybody is settled in for this season and to see what we can do. So I don't think you have to be any way concerned about Mo leaving this season. That's certainly not going to be the case. Paul Ward said, is there anyone as good as Mo? Probably not, mate. Probably not. I guess you'd have to you'd probably have to look for somebody who was showing signs that he could become a Mo. Who that is, mate, I don't know. And I hope we don't find out, Paul, because I want him to sign a 2-year contract extension. Right, what have we got here from Mark? So Liverpool under 21s, 3-0 winners against Arsenal. Tyler Morton got a goal and was booked in the game. Trainee only played 83 minutes in it as well. I did see Tyler Morton's goal, actually. A very good goal from him. He started out with a tackle inside his own half, won the ball back, drove at the Arsenal defence, played a little 1-2 on the edge of the box, I think, before he finished it. So yeah, well done to Tyler Morton. Well done to Liverpool under 21s. 3-0 victory over Arsenal. Anthony, I don't think Ademola Lookman's good enough, mate, to come into Liverpool. I really don't. And I think his age would stand against them. I think, isn't Lookman 27? Something like that? Which would probably be a little bit higher than the age profile that we'd be looking to bring somebody in. I think probably somewhere between 22 and 25, I would be guessing we'd look for somebody around that age. And Mark, thank you for gifting a membership. That's who gifted your one, Pascas. I'd seen it there earlier on. Mark had gifted a membership and you were right underneath it and it was gifted to you. So he said thank you, Mark, and I'm just passing that on to you. And welcome, mate, welcome. Nobody's as good as Mo, but I like Semenyo, especially against us last 2 seasons. Good dribbler. So again, I can only reiterate this, and I don't mean to sound rude about it, but I hope we don't find out, because I don't want us to be replacing Mo. I want probably what most of you guys want, which is the contract extensions. A few other little bits and pieces, by the way, coming out today. Liverpool have Merlin Roll of FC Freiburg on their list, according to Christian Falk. Scouts watch the midfielder playing already for Freiburg. So I don't know anything about this guy, but Christian Falk seems to think that Liverpool have had scouts watching Merlin Roll, or OHL, of Freiburg. So, you know, take that with a pinch of salt, but many of you guys watch a lot more Bundesliga football than I do. Some quotes actually from Luis Diaz about Arne Slot, very complimentary of the new coach. Said, as a coach, he's been spectacular from the first day I arrived and had contact with him. So, good stuff there on Lucho, speaking about the positive impact that Arne Slot has had. Dugout said, if we are believing anything that Agbonlahor says, then he's talking a load of rubbish. Agbonlahor will always be remembered for going into the cop and then having his picture taken falling over. He's, I think he's full of it, Doug, personally. And as I said at the start of the stream, I'm going to need a lot more than Agbonlahor coming out and talking about Salah moving before I put any faith in it. Right, what else have we got? So, this news coming out of the Wolves camp. A virus is sweeping through the Wolves camp. There's quite a bit of illness with players that will need a check, and there's a virus going around. Some players missed training today. So, headaches there already for Wolves ahead of our visit tomorrow evening. So, hopefully it should be a fairly straightforward evening for us if we play anywhere near our potential. So, just wanted to give you guys an update on that one as well. We'll be live from 4:30, by the way, tomorrow for the watch-along. Game kicks off at 5:30. Thank you. It's my final year work. Well, I hope that it all goes well for you, mate. And as I said, anything we can do to help you out with that, I appreciate you. I have a question for our community, actually. Is there any web developers that watch Anfield Agenda or in our community that would like a little nix or a little side job or anything? Because we're looking into building a website, and we're just looking around at the minute to see what's the best way forward to do it. So if there's any web developers out there amongst you that would like a little side job or anything, let us know, and we'll talk to you about it, because there's a few ideas that we have that we'd like to get done. But obviously, I ain't going to be designing our website. Connor could do it, but, he's pretty busy as well. Jess, how are you? Really appreciate your support, Jess. You're very kind. Thank you. And, I mean, the comment you've put in is incredible. Thank you so much. So I've been watching since lockdown. I absolutely love the channel. Mo's my favourite player. Will be upset if he leaves. So I know young Sinead, Dave Sweeney's daughter, who watches as well, massive Mohamed Salah fan, always hoping for Mo to score. And I'm with you, Jess. It'll be incredibly difficult, wouldn't it, to see the man leave? I'm stressed, Jess. I can't lie to you. I'm stressed about the Salah situation, the Trent situation, the Verge situation. And I'm stressed that we've left it too late. But I hope I'm wrong. I do. And thank you so much for your kind words. It really does mean a lot. Gareth, who said, I can code websites. What was the email again? It's contact@AnfieldAgenda.com. Contact@AnfieldAgenda.com. Finley Years Guitar, welcome back to Anfield Agenda Ultras, bro. Always a pleasure having you with us, mate, and thank you so much. Good point is from Harissa Sports, 1 second. Said, interested to see how Andre looks against us. Yeah, it will. It's a good shout, actually. I forgot that he'd signed for Wolves. It will be interesting to see. Obviously, he'd been linked with us. He'd been linked with Fulham. And when he did make the move to Europe, it ended up being to Wolves. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on him tomorrow and see how he gets on. And thank you again for your super chat. What score are you thinking tomorrow, mate? I'll call you mate, as I think of you as a good friend. Pete, call me mate. That's exactly what we like. And I'll call you mate right back. I'm feeling optimistic, Pete. I'm thinking 3 or 4-0. And again, not trying to be disrespectful, but I feel like our forwards are looking on fire at the minute. So, we've scored a lot of goals this season so far. I think 13 if my memory's right. So, yeah, I'm going to go 3 or 4-0. Thoughts on Grimaldo? Very good player, but will be too old for us to bring in. I think, isn't Grimaldo something like 28? Something like that? Moved around a lot in his career, but really seemed to have found a home there at Leverkusen under Alonso. Certainly an understanding of the way Alonso wants him to play and fits Leverkusen very well. But yeah, he's a little bit too old, I think, for us to be looking at. We're winning 8-1, said David. You'll never guess what score Jack went with in the podcast prediction. Of course, 6-0, because that's the Jack Gill, isn't it? So yeah, that episode came out today, by the way. So if you are a listener of podcasts, do check it out on whatever your favourite podcast platform is. Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, you can search us on there. Do you think if we got Caicedo or Andre last year, they would be slot-type holding midfielder and we wouldn't have went in for Zubimendi? I think if we got Caicedo, he could evolve into the way Slot wants him to play. Not sure about Andre, to be honest with you, but I think certainly Caicedo could have done it. And look, I'm not going to change either. I would have loved that signing. I really would. I was over the moon with the idea of us signing Caicedo. So, actually, I'm going to move on to speak about Ederson from Atlanta in a second. But before I do, just a little super chat from our friend Ella. Ella said, after 9 years, she's finished in Dublin Airport today. Privileged to meet you and Conor Craig during my time there. And got to meet Niall Quinn as well. I know you also got to meet Costas, Ella, because you sent me a picture of when you met Costas as well. 9 years. Well, you're moving on to do good work for a charity as well, Ella. So we're always here to support you and keep going. You know we're proud of you. And thank you for sharing your journey with us. We do appreciate it. 9 years, that's a long time. That is a long time, mate, to be working anywhere. Like, if you think about it, this channel hasn't even been in existence as long as you've been working there. We've only been going about 6 years or so, 6 or 7. Farron Davey said, can't see Nunez being in the squad tomorrow. Close friend of his died today. Did he? That's really sad to hear. I didn't know about that, in all honesty, so... You know, if that's the case, certainly condolences to the person's family. But look, if he isn't, and he isn't able to play, understandable in those scenario, in that situation. Diogo Jota bagged himself a brace midweek, so, you know, I was reading through a lot of the comments on my prediction video ahead of the Wolves game, and a lot of people were saying, look, Jota scored 2 midweek, Craig, he should probably be playing. And look, it's hard to push back on that. I absolutely respect where people are coming from on it. So... on Ederson, Craig Hope of the, I think it's a Daily Mail if I'm not mistaken, said, Liverpool, Newcastle and Manchester United remain keen and are keeping tabs on Brazil international Ederson from Atalanta. Well, look, you know I wanted him. I was saying all summer, that was my number one target, was Ederson. And, you know, I'm glad we're still being linked, but, you know, will it lead to anything? Let's wait and see. LFC Cal said, just getting in, but if Gabriel Agbonlahor says something, you can almost always bet against it. I'm kind of that mindset as well, mate. I think it's I think it belongs on a certain little island that we have here on the channel. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? I would put that firmly on Bullshit Island. Ederson just got dropped by Brazil. I swear he was in Brazil's team, no? Somebody shared the Brazil squad with us earlier on in Discord. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I seen Ederson listed on the squad. But either way, you know, whether he's dropped for Brazil or not, still doesn't really change my perception of him. I think he's a very good midfielder. But there's no way we're going after Rodrigo Troy if Mo leaves. This is not going to happen, mate. I think he'd cost upwards of 150 million. I can't see it. Do you know what, though? There is a story doing the rounds, and I think it came from Sport, which is a Spanish publication, that says that Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti are getting a little bit fed up with Vinicius Jr. and his behaviour, shall we say. You know, he's picked up a lot of bookings. He's been mouthing back to referees quite a bit as well. And this story said that Madrid are getting a little bit tired of it now. He almost talked himself into being sent off, which would have meant he missed the Madrid derby this weekend. And there was that article in Sport that said that Ancelotti's getting a bit fed up of it. Matthew said, Craig, thoughts on Kudus as a Mo replacement? I like Kudus. I do. I think he's a very good player. You know, I would say you'd have to look at the value of it. Because if you're signing him from West Ham, I think his release clause is about 80. If I remember, I think it was David Ornstein said that he had a release clause. Would we pay that? I don't know, is the honest answer. You know, you could make a good argument that, yes, you're paying a lot of money, but he is Premier League tested and proven now, so maybe that offsets some of the worry. But again, I just hope we don't have to have this conversation, because I don't think Mo is nailed on to go to Saudi, and I hope that Liverpool can find a way to keep him. Charlie, we haven't really gone through much to give you a recap of, mate. The main talking points so far have been Gabriel Agbonlahor, and I'll read it out to you exactly as the quote is written. One sec, that's the wrong quote, Craig. One sec, this one. He said, on TalkSport, I believe, I know Salah is going. I've got a source that told me Salah is definitely leaving on a record contract with Saudi. He'll earn more money than Ronaldo and be the face of the Saudi league. You know, do you believe it? I don't, personally, but I'm sure we'll be letting Gabriel Agbonlahor know all about it if he's wrong. And I promise you, I will be calling him out on it many, many times if he's wrong, because I don't like people stirring the pot like that. If he's right, you know, as always, like anyone, you'd say give the man his credit. But if he's wrong, and I think he is, then I hope he gets all the criticisms that will be coming his way for talking shite. Other things we spoke about, mate, was Liverpool, Manchester United, and others being interested in Ederson of Atalanta. Another story from Christian Falk said Liverpool have Merlin Roll of FC Freiburg on their list, and scouts have watched the midfielder already. We also spoke about some kind words from Luis Diaz on Arne Slot, where he said, as a coach, he's been spectacular from the first day I arrived and we had contact. A few more other bits and pieces to go through. Looks like Anthony Gordon has an agreement now with Newcastle and is set to sign a new contract soon. It'll be signed until 2029, a 5-year contract, and a little bit less than the money he was initially looking for. Danny LaRue, how are you, bro? Said, evening, Craig. Hope you're well, mate. Any news on Elliott's return? No, I did actually put out a message because somebody asked me yesterday, about Jayden Dans, and they asked me about McConnell, I think it was. So I sent a message to somebody today asking about them and was there any update on Elliott, and I haven't had an answer back yet. So if and when I do get that, I will let you know. But I hadn't forgotten about what that person asked me yesterday, but I haven't heard an answer back yet. Toby said we won't get Wirtz. I don't think we will either, mate. Especially when you're looking at the 120 to 150 million, or 130 to 150 million euro price tag that we were talking about last night. It was really interesting though. We did a poll on the channel last night where we said, do you think Liverpool should sign Florian Wirtz for £120 million? And it was, I think, 51% no, 49% yes, so very close. Right, let's check in on the poll that we put up earlier on. Do you believe, Agbonlahor, that Salah is leaving for Saudi? I'm going to leave it up a little bit longer in case people who are coming in late didn't know it was there, but by all means do have a vote on it. So far, most of you guys are not believing him, and I'd certainly be in that camp as well. Hard to have much confidence in future signings with FSG at the helm. I agree, Stephen. And look, to that person, and I hope you're watching, because I did notice your comment earlier on when you said it's gone very quiet around FSG out. I just look at it this way. Now, chat, tell me if I'm wrong or not, because I would talk about FSG every night, no problem, and give you my take on why I think that they're cheap. But I tried to balance it out. You know, in transfer season, transfer window time, I think that's when I speak up, because that's when I think we can put the pressure on social media to the owners and at least have our voices heard. I don't see the benefit of me coming on here every night continuously banging on about FSG while the team are doing well, and I don't want to undermine our own fan base, and I don't want to undermine Arne Slot, and I don't want to put out negativity out there in a time where I think we should be positive about what we're seeing on the pitch. But I can promise you, my views haven't changed on them. I will speak up on them when the January window comes again. And if the appetite was there for me to speak about them every day, I would. I just want to be respectful to everybody in our community and not be tiresome with just the same thing over and over and over again. Salah won't leave. He wants to play in the Champions League. I would say, Jamal, that he would look at the Saudi Pro League right now. And let's be honest, it's not exactly gone great, is it? You know, you've seen the players that are over there. The kind of hype around it has died down a little bit. This summer they weren't in any way as gung-ho with signing players as they were previously. I think we've seen enough clips of it to know that it is not at the level that someone like Mohamed Salah is still playing at. So I very firmly believe that there's more years Mo at a higher level than that. I think he'd be mad, personally. You know, if it's about the money, he's going to be a wealthy man anyway, isn't he? Coach Bill said, Craig, I've respected Slot for not going back to his former club for players, unlike Ten Hag. Well, Klopp before him as well. You know, we didn't go back for any players from Dortmund under Jurgen. You know, Ten Hag, his transfer business has been mental. What is it, 600 million now we spent in the transfer market, something like that? And still talking about asking for patience from the fans. Heck said, FSG didn't want to back Slot in the transfer window. That's a fact. Slot is doing well in spite of what has happened with FSG. Trent, VVD and Salah still not signed new contracts. Again, I don't disagree with anything you've written there, mate. Exactly. I think those are the same words I'd use as well, that we're doing well in spite of the owners, not because of the owners. Sporty Edit said, Craig, just tuned in. Do some of the Wolves squad have norovirus, or is the virus unknown? I'm not sure what it is. I just know that there is a virus going through the Wolves camp, and some players were unable to train. I don't know exactly whether it's, you know, the flu or whatever it is, but yeah, it's widely reported that they're unable to train and unable to put out their strongest team tomorrow. So, you know, take that at face value. Sam said, Craig, we need a left back, but who? Is there a left back you fancy the most? I like Aït-Nouri from Wolves. I think that would be a good signing, and I think he could cover a couple of positions. If City got relegated or got booted out of the league, then, you know, I wouldn't mind having a visit to Gvardiol again, as he can play centre-back, left centre-back or left-back. Other than that, I haven't really been looking around at much left-backs, to be honest with you. We've been linked to a couple, though, but I think Aït-Nouri is the one that I would put the most faith in. Do you think Curtis has a future at the club? I personally don't. I don't think he's good enough, but maybe he's a squad option, said Jason Hammond. I think he's a squad option as well. Does he have a future at the club? I think yes, but I don't. I think the way I would describe it is, I don't ever see a time where Curtis Jones is going to be a nailed-on starter. I just don't see it happening. But does he have a role in and around the squad? Yeah, and I guess it's what he's happy with there. But right now we've a relatively settled midfield, don't we? Between Alexis McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch. So, yeah, I don't know. For me, I'd sell him. I would sell him. Muds said, Agbonlahor has been on many podcasts saying that he has specific things to troll fan bases and get a reaction. I don't believe a word out of his mouth. So, I think anybody, and I mean this to literally anyone, anybody that intentionally comes on and lies to rile up people or get a reaction is a piece of shit, in my opinion. That's not specific to Agbonlahor, that's in general. And do you know what really gets me? When I see people who profess to be Liverpool fans intentionally lying to people about transfer targets as well, that gets to me. Because you're then undermining your own fan base with stuff that you know to be untrue, but you want clicks from it. Finley said, whoever it is who's doing the project, if you need music recorded for your project, I'd be happy to help you. There you go. This is what I love about our community. And thank you, Finley. That's very kind of you, mate. And I'm sure if I hear from the person and if they do need any music, mate, I will let you know. I promise you that. And thank you for offering up, mate. Now remember, we need a web developer. So if anybody out there is a bona fide web developer, let us know, because we're trying to build a website to link up a few ideas that we have. Do you ever bet on Premier League scores? No. Do you know what? I don't really bet on football anymore, Sam. I used to bet on most Liverpool games, but then I found that I had this weird situation sometimes where Liverpool would win and I'd lose my bet. or Liverpool would lose and I'd win my bet. And I didn't like those competing feelings. So I stopped betting on football, particularly Liverpool. I usually just keep my bets for the NFL now, to be honest with you. I do bet builders on Boyle for the NFL. Cody Gaming and Football said, bet Wolves play a low block tomorrow to frustrate us. I think you're probably right, mate. I think you're probably right. I wouldn't expect anything different from them, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think you're right. But I hope they aren't able to frustrate us. I hope we get an early goal. Daniel D, thank you, mate, for the super sticker. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And Australia as well, mate. Really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you. Craig, do you think we'll be happy about what we've done by the end of the season? It's a good question, James. I think it depends on what your expectation is. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to hold Arne Slot to for this season. And I think it's fair. He said he wants to improve on, was it the 81 or 82 points total we had at the end of last season. So that's my aim for him. Whatever that does for us, wherever that makes us finish, fair enough. But if he can improve on the points tally we put up last season, I think that's a good first season from. And I think certainly it will keep us in Champions League football. And if we can mount a title challenge from that point, brilliant. But that's my own little yardstick to measure him for the first season, because he said it himself. LFC Cal said, trained web developer, don't write code anymore, but let me know technical requirements you have and I'd be happy to leverage my network. There's too many words there that I don't understand. I don't know any of the technical requirements, mate. I'm an ideas person, so I'll say to Connor, I would like the website to do this, 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 and this. And then he'd say to me, this and this and this is easy. This and this will need loads of servers or high server costs. So yeah, I'm the ideas person, and then Connor brings me back down to reality. So I did say I had a few more things to go through, actually. Alisson Becker, I think we've got some good news on ahead of tomorrow. Speaking about Alisson earlier on in his press conference, Arne Slot said, we think he's okay to return. We think he's available. We're really happy with Alisson being back. We did well in the 2 games without him, so another example of me having 2 or 3 options in some positions. So it looks like Alisson will be back for tomorrow. But look, if there's any doubts whatsoever, best to err to the side of caution and keep Queeving in there. And of course we have Bologna then coming up in the Champions League. Never heard of a web developer, but I can try my best. No, it's okay. I know for a fact that there are some in our community because we've spoken to them before. I just couldn't remember who exactly it was. And look, we do have guys that we could get to do it, like, but, you know, I like to try and keep things in-house where possible, because, you know, if we're going to be paying somebody for it, I'd like it to be somebody that we interact with and we know it as well, like, to try and, I don't know, keep it all in our community, if you get where I'm coming from. Who is Agbonlahor? That's my favourite comment of the day. Who the fuck is he? Yeah, it's a fair question, mate. So I can tell you who he is. He's a bang average Premier League footballer, previously who played for Aston Villa, who talks absolute pony. That's the kindest I can be. And he works on TalkSport. And I don't really like him very much, or any of his views or opinions. On a personal level, I don't. But yeah, who the fuck is he? You're right, who is he? Tim. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that surname or the second part of that name, mate, because I'll just get it wrong. Thank you, Craig. Listening last few months, it's a great source of fun for me and the gang here. I'm glad you're here, and thank you for being with us, and thank you for contributing to our community with your comments and your viewership, mate. I really appreciate it. Who's my favourite Liverpool player ever? Robbie Fowler. We'll probably go Robbie Fowler, Steven Gerrard, Luis Suarez for me in that order. No, well, actually, probably John Barnes ahead of Suarez now that I think about it. Yeah, so I'd probably go Robbie Fowler, Steven Gerrard, John Barnes. We have a nickname from that we use between myself and Connor that I'm not allowed to say on stream. Now, it's not a racist nickname or anything, you know, before anybody tries to go down that route, but we have a little nickname that we use amongst each other when we're talking about Agbonlahor. Fernando Torres. He wouldn't make my top three, no, my top three. Loved El Nino, but he would make my top three. Clint. No, it's a play on his name. That's the kindest I can be about it. Is it possible for our team? Do you mean to say beat Real Madrid, Sam? Because you know what? Yeah, I've been looking at Real Madrid's results so far this season, and certainly don't look like they've fully gelled yet as a team. You know, they've got a collection of stars, but are they a cohesive unit? You always got to respect them. They're the reigning European champions, the reigning La Liga champions. But I expected them to be a lot better than they have been so far with the pure quality that they have on display, you know. Been able to put a squad out there that has the players that they have, and I'm not going to start listing them off again because you know them, but it's incredible squad depth that they have there. My current favourite player, probably Alisson. Yeah, I'd say Alisson at the moment would be my favourite. Alisson, if I put it in order, Alisson, McAllister and Darwin. I love Darwin because I love an emotional person. So sometimes he drives me mad and I'll, you know, scream stuff. But that's usually what I do when somebody provokes emotion in me, you know. My wife does it, for instance. Sometimes you want to hug her, sometimes you want to kill her. I'm an emotional person, so yeah, for me, probably the three at the minute would be Alisson, McAllister and Darwin. What does Agbonlahor know about Salah's future? Sweet FA would be what I would suggest, mate. And look, I'd love Rami Abbas to go in on him and say, really? You know that for a fact, do you? Because I find it strange to think of all the people in all of football with all the resources, sources, books of contacts, that Gabriel Agbonlahor is the one that seemingly feels comfortable to come out and say, without any hesitation, that he has it from a source that Mohamed Salah is going to Saudi and will be the highest paid player in the league's history. I find that a little bit difficult to believe. Mary said, I think we can beat Madrid. Our team has started good and they have confidence at the moment. Yeah, it's great to know that we're playing them this season in the Champions League as well. We've got them. Obviously, we've got Leverkusen coming to Anfield as well. Bologna. We've got Lille. I can't remember who our fifth game at Anfield is, actually. Who's the fifth game but we have a home in the Champions League? I can't remember off the top of my head now. Who is the fifth one? Lille, Bologna, Real Madrid, Leverkusen. Who's the other one? There's one more. Oh no, it's 8 games, isn't it? Sorry, it's 8 games. I'm thinking it was 10. 8 games, sorry. 4 home, 4 away. My apologies, I was just being stupid there. My partner is a web designer. If you wanted a quote on any work, not sure I can post his website on here. Just if you want to email us, Danielle, contact at AnfieldAgenda.com and we'll certainly have a look, and thank you for the input. Just bought 4 tickets for the 15th of November. Matthew, we love that, mate. Well in. And of course, this is what he's talking about. Liverpool, we're coming. November the 15th, Anfield Agenda. Mr. Paddy Doyle Music and of course Carl Porter, stand-up comedian. We're coming November the 15th at the Hot Water Comedy Club, and Matthew has just got himself 4 tickets. We love that, mate. Well in. And looking forward to meeting you at the show, mate. Do you think Salah is slowing down anytime soon? I don't. It's a difficult one to answer because in some ways, yes, but in other ways, I think he's added other dimensions to his game. So overall, yes, I think he's past his best. I think anybody that doesn't believe we've seen the best of Mo is probably deluding himself. But he's still at a very, very high level that he can contribute, I think, for a few more seasons. So I would say past his best, but still more than good enough. Evening Craig, just subscribed but been watching for the last few weeks. I'm a dub but living in Saudi. Have good intel through a Saudi rep in work. Always wanted to come over and visit. You know, I've seen some of the boxing events as an example, Glenn. And if Usyk fights Fury, I'd be very tempted to go over and have a look. I'm a huge boxing fan, and I've been to a few different places to watch boxing. I've been in Belfast, I've been in Dublin, I've been in Leeds, I've been in London. I'd love to go over to a big event in America, and I'd love to go over to see what it's like over in Saudi as well, especially if it was Fury versus Usyk. Charlie, let me get your super chat up, mate. Let's all do a Gabby. Hi Craig, I heard from a close source Bellingham and Valverde and Rodrigo will leave in January. We can all lie, Gabby. Yeah, exactly. I heard that FSG are going to give 700 million quid to Arne Slot next summer to spend in the transfer market. And he's only going to spend it on players, you know, that can absolutely improve the team. And he has a list of 5 players ready to go. Actually, the Mercedes Vitos are already running at the airport. Craig C. Gorning signing close to a new contract. Yep, I did. We reported it earlier on, mate, as well. It does look like he's about to sign a new deal till, I think, 2029 at Newcastle. It'll be on less money than he initially wanted. It won't make him the highest paid player at Newcastle, but still an improvement on the salary he's on at the minute. Not a surprise Salah will go to Saudi, but what about Trent? Trent, if he leaves, it'll be to Real Madrid. I think that's the most likely scenario. I can't see Trent leaving Liverpool for anyone else. And I hope I don't see Trent leaving Liverpool, by the way. But, you know, if we're worried about him, I would think Saudi would be nowhere near. You know, Trent's 25. There's no way he's looking at going over and hanging up his boots already. Right, so I'm going to end this poll. We've had 1,500 votes, and we said, do you believe Agbonlahor that Salah is leaving for Saudi? And 75% of people say no. 25% said yes. What's with the lettuce? The lettuce will be gotten tomorrow morning. You know, we want to make sure it's nice and fresh and ready to go. So I'll make sure the lettuce is here for tomorrow for the watch along as promised. I've heard FSG aren't tight on transfer budgets. David, they can't stop spending money, mate. I think John has a problem. You know, I'm always saying on here, like, I wish John W. Henry would just stop spending so much money on Liverpool. Like, it's crazy. You know, him and Todd Bowley, mate, just going, you know, mono a mono here, trying to see who can outspend the other on transfer fees. It's quite embarrassing, David, isn't it? I thought you said you wouldn't come back to America. I won't be. I said I'd like to go to a big event, but I won't be. Yeah, I'll never be going back to America as things stand, unless I go for a visa to live there, which is a different scenario altogether. But I'm not going to be jumping through those hoops for a holiday visa, I can promise you that. But maybe I could go, I don't know, maybe Canada, maybe something like that. But I just like travelling around to watch big boxing events. So, yeah, whether it's in Saudi or somewhere else, I think it's something that I love to do. Real Madrid are linked with Diogo Dalot today. Hopefully Trent told him to do one. Well, hopefully, yes. It just gets really tiring, doesn't it? Having these same conversations day after day, because it feels like the weeks are just going by now and we're getting closer and closer to the winter and closer to that window where, you know, if Trent isn't signed up by January, I don't even want to think about what the headlines and all are going to be like. And actually, what worries me most would be the reaction from our fan base if Trent did leave for whatever reason. And I don't mean the reaction from our fan base towards hatred for Trent or anything. I don't mean it like that at all. What I mean is, I think that would be a tipping point for people to go, how could the club allow this to happen? Like, whose head needs to roll for that stupid decision of losing Trent for free? It's unfathomable to me. Harry said, this generation of boxing heavyweights is most underwhelming. AJ finished, Fury finished, Robbed and Ngannou, Wilder finished without many clashes. I don't think it's the worst. I think the Klitschko era was worse. You know, if you go in between the Lewis Tyson era, that whole time where Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko were cleaning up the heavyweight division, I thought was a really, really bad time for heavyweight boxing. I think actually the latest era where AJ, Fury, Wilder, now Usyk, I think that's been way more enjoyable to watch as a boxing fan. Heavy Metal D, how are you, mate? Said, evening, Craig. With us now playing Champions League game and League Cup games, how are you feeling about Slot's team and tactics? Extremely impressed with his tactics. Extremely impressed with the tweaks that he's made. You know, I can't say anything about that Forest game that hasn't been said already. It was incredibly frustrating all around. Don't know if it was necessarily down to the manager because a lot of the players just weren't cutting it that day. But I think he's carried himself very well, and I think he's won over the players. You know, you hear loads of positive stuff coming out from the players about his training methods, about how he not only points out to them the things that they're doing wrong, but also the stuff that they're doing good and how they can improve on both sides of it. Yeah, I feel, and I think he's been very measured as well in what he said. He said that he's still learning every day as well when he comes in about these players, and he's only had a small sample size so far to work with. But yeah, really good. So far, so good, mate. Charlie said, question for Craig and the chat. What player that Liverpool have signed really disappointed you? Joined with high hopes but really failed? Oh, for me, that's easy. It's Naby Keita. Yeah, Naby Keita would be the one off the top of my head that I was so excited about. I'll tell you another one. Harry Kewell was another one. I remember being in St. Vincent's Hospital in the Accident and Emergency Department when Harry Kewell made his press conference announcement that he was going to be signing for Liverpool when his contract was up with Leeds. And I remember sitting there with my wife going, this is it now. We've sorted the left side, because we've been looking at Damien Duff chasing him and he went to Chelsea, and I was thinking, this is it. We're sorted. We've now got the left winger that we were short of. And I was expecting Harry Kewell to be amazing. And between injuries and form not being great, that never worked out. But the Keita one was such an underwhelming scenario. You know, you brought him in, you got that really good deal. Michael Edwards played a blinder, agreeing the deal that he did when you had so many clubs like Bayern, Barcelona and others looking at him. And Edwards went in, got the deal done. We then had to wait, obviously, till he finished the season and then came in. He had the whole hype about Gerrard physically handing him the number 8 shirt, and then we got a handful of really good Naby Keita games, and now he's even been dropped and kind of frozen out at Wolfsburg or Werder Bremen, sorry. So yeah, I would say Keita, but Harry Kewell would be second for me. Am I a fan of synchronized swimming? Can't say I am, mate. No, can't say I am. Naby Keita, bro got given the number by Gerrard. Yeah, it's just so disappointing, wasn't it? And it felt like every time he got given a chance, he just didn't take it. TB said 80s middleweights was the best. Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Hearns, Duran. It was a great era for boxing, mate, no doubt about that. Sarang said, hey Craig, I feel the most realistic deal would be switching Arnold with Rodrigo. So can I ask you, and I'm not being an asshole, it's a genuine question, what part of that you think is realistic? Because one of them is able to go on a free contract at the end of the season, and the other one would probably cost upwards of 150 million. So I don't see how it's reasonable. And also you're then getting rid of a right back to bring in a right winger or a right-sided attacker. I just don't think it is reasonable. We tried to get him when he was still in Brazil, by the way, Rodrigo. I think we spoke about it a few months back, for a really, really small amount of money, but he chose to stay there and eventually went to Real Madrid. My breathing's been terrible lately, by the way. It always feels like I'm struggling. I don't know what it is. Adam Brown said, Agbonlahor is as big a clown as Ten Lasso. Agreed. So somebody in our Discord group put in a little picture of a little tub of tablets and a picture of Arsenal on it. It was like a medication little tub, and it said "Deludamol" on it. Take one to believe it's your year. And I've been chuckling about that quite a bit. Because Arsenal, do you know, it's not so much Arsenal fans I'm annoyed with. Because football fans' job is to dream and believe in their team and talk about it being their year. But do you know what's really annoying me? Particularly Sky Sports and this absolute certainty that it's going to be Arsenal and Manchester City and only those two fighting for the league. You see Merson the other day again saying it's a coin flip between the two. I just think it's hugely disrespectful at a time where we're ahead of them. I know they've had a harder start. I know that there's probably some truth to them and Man City being the favourites, but nothing about Arsenal has indicated that they deserve this level of backing in the media. I just don't get it. Like, they've won one FA Cup in 5 or 6 years. And yes, they've been second, but they haven't won anything. I don't get it. I don't get this licking on their arse in the media. Like, I really just don't get it. As I said, their fans have every right to believe and get carried away. That's what football fans should do. But Merson and stuff, I just think they're almost willing it to be a title race between Arsenal and Manchester City more so than thinking it's automatically going to be. That's how I read the situation anyway. Danny, thank you, mate, for gifting 5 memberships. And Jason's Reds Army, thank you for gifting 5 memberships, mate, as well. Very kind of you both. Is it going to postpone the match or will we play it normally? No, I think you have to play it. Yeah, I mean, nobody had any sympathy for us when half our team was in another continent and we had to play the League Cup game, remember? So, as unfortunate as it is, if Wolves can put together a team that even consists of under 21s, then they've got to fulfill the fixture. Unfortunately, you know, it's one of them shit scenarios. I get it. Like, Wolves are unlucky at the minute with that virus going through the squad, but, you know, it is what it is. Hope all is well, Craig. Have had long COVID, been horrible. You still have the best stream online. That won't change. Thank you, Mark. My psychologist actually struggling with long COVID as well. He's been telling me, like, he's been struggling with it for a long time now. It's and it's still something that physically, you know, is taking its toll on him. So yeah, I hope you're well, mate, and I hope you get back to yourself soon. Sharon Evans said, I like all the talk about Arsenal and City. We can just go under the radar. So I get that, Sharon. I do. I get where you're coming from, but I just find it very galling, to be honest with you, Sharon, that they're just so insistent on it. It's almost like between that and the narrative of the whole Pep and Arteta and the rivalry, I just feel like they're trying to manufacture them two into a title race. And as you said, yeah, if we can go about our business and, you know, swoop in behind them, fair enough, because I think we're being massively disrespected. Heavy Metal D said, Arsenal have had the chance to win, but unfortunately they couldn't keep up with City. Exactly. You know, you look at the points tallies that we put up in second place to not win the league, and they are quite a bit higher than the points tallies Arsenal are putting up. And they were all laughing at us, calling us bottlers with 96, 97 points. Bottlers. Like, points tallies that would have won almost every other Premier League season, and they were calling us bottlers. But when they finish second for a couple of seasons in a row, the media can't say how great they are quick enough, and how this is a dynasty, and how this is a rivalry for the ages. It just feels like they just want a London team in this title race. My top 5 Champions League team prediction. I have no idea. I'd have to go through all the fixtures, look at who's playing who. If you're looking for teams I think can win the Champions League, City, Real Madrid, you'd have to say Barcelona have had a very good start on the Hansi Flick. Bayern will be in and around it. Liverpool will be in and around it. Arsenal should certainly feel like they could go deep enough into the Champions League. That's about it, really. I don't think there's any other surprises going to come from anywhere else. Gun AWOL said, I like Bernardo Silva's comments after the game and shows the disrespect we get. He said that the difference between us and Arsenal is that we actually come to win. Yeah, I get that, but if I'm an Arsenal fan, you know you're getting in his head. Because they don't start talking about you in that way unless you're a threat. So I did get what you said, and it was a nice, I guess, backhanded compliment to get from Bernardo Silva that at least when Liverpool show up, they try to win. Crazy Editor just came in. Is the Salah situation okay? So I'll read out to you exactly what it's about. It's Gabriel Agbonlahor saying, I know Salah is going. I've got a source who told me Salah is definitely leaving on a record contract with Saudi. He'll earn more than Ronaldo and be the face of the Saudi league. We don't believe it. The audience didn't believe it. We ran a poll on it and 75% of people thought that Gabriel Agbonlahor was incorrect. Tom Goldsworthy said, if Raya gets injured, they're not winning it with Neto from Bournemouth. Look, Arsenal have a good team, and they certainly are not as, how would I say this, soft as they were in years gone by. You know, Arsenal used to be known as a team that played good football, but could be bullied, could be intimidated a little bit in the centre of the park. I think that, you know, they have strengthened in that area. But I still think, as good as their defence is, I don't know if they really have the firepower to go and win the league. As in, like, when we won the Premier League, I think when COVID came in, we were like 15 or 20 points clear at that point. So until Arsenal actually win something, I just don't want to hear about them anymore, you know? I'm just fed up of it. It's like when Spurs were doing well at the start of last season, the media couldn't quickly say that they're going to win the league enough. Gary Neville was saying last season Spurs going to finish ahead of Arsenal if my memory's right. It just feels like they just want the London team in the title race so badly, because in recent times Northern teams have been just dominating the Premier League, so they just want that London interest, I guess, in the title race. Mads Thorson said, did you see Morton scored and assisted versus Arsenal for the 21s? Yeah, we spoke about it a little bit earlier on. 3-0 victory for Liverpool against Arsenal. And I did see that Tyler Morton goal as well. He won the ball back in our own half and then drove at the Arsenal midfield. Little 1-2 and then finished it. Certainly, it looked very well. Good goal from him. He's Muslim 33-ish, not saying it's true, but makes a hell of a lot of sense. So, it's a different conversation, Wayne, if Agbonlahor had have said, I think Salah at 33 as a Muslim athlete, with him being the face of the league and with the big TV deal that's coming in, that I think he's going to go there. It's a long way though, Wayne, to go from that to a definitive statement of, I know for a fact he's going there, I know for a fact he's going to be the highest paid player in the league, and I know for a fact that he's leaving Liverpool. That's where we have the issue with, mate. We can all see a world where potentially it happens. That's why we're anxious about it, but there's a difference between that and him saying it's a definite, you know, and that's what we're going in on here. We can all absolutely understand how it would appeal to Mo from some regards. What about Villa for the title challenge, though? Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit disrespectful of me there, Alex, not to speak about Villa in that context, because they're shown that they're a consistent team once again this season. You have to say that the transfer business they've done looks quite good as well. So yeah, they'll be there or thereabouts as well, mate. Very good team, very good coach. Peter said, just watched a clip of Klopp ripping Agbonlahor and said he forgets he got beat 6-0 by us, but ripped United when we thrashed them. Klopp said he was close to ringing in TalkSport. Wish he had. Yeah. So, do you know what still riles me to this day? And there's no reason why this should piss me off, by the way. Does anybody remember when Robbie from AFTV went on TalkSport? One of the times he went on. And it was Jim White and it was, what's the other twat's name? Simon Jordan. And for me, sitting from the outside watching it, I felt like Robbie was being almost bullied by the two of them. And I always wished I was sitting there beside him, because I would not have let Jordan or Jim White speak to me the way they were speaking to Robbie from AFTV. And I don't know Robbie. I've never spoken with the man. But in that moment, I just felt like it was almost like he was being set up in there. And they were, I felt like they were very, 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 very disrespectful. And I was shouting at the screen when I was watching it. Because if Jordan had spoken to me the way he was speaking towards Robbie, it'd have been a very different fucking outcome in that studio. I can promise you that. And I said, I don't know Robbie. I've never met the man. Never heard of long COVID. It's basically where the effects of COVID don't go away, mate, for some people. Despite physiotherapy and increased therapeutics and medicine, it's just sometimes people have had effects for since COVID to now. It's definitely it's a genuine thing, mate. I know a couple of people that have it as well. So, Gone AWOL said, what does a good season actually look like with us with a new manager? Is winning the FA Cup, League Cup enough? No. I think, for me, my only target for Arne Slot is his own target that he set, which is improving on the points total we put up last season. If he can do that this season, then I have to say that's a step forward. Adam, I hadn't forgotten about your super chat, Adam. Don't worry, mate. I was just going to get to it there, and I'm bringing it up on screen for you now. United should be in the top 5 to win the Champions League. Oh, wait, sorry, I forgot. I wouldn't put them in the top 5 for the Europa. Do you know what, Adam? I had a little look through the Europa League group stage, or the league format. It's not a particularly strong tournament this year. And remember, there's nobody dropping down from the Champions League anymore into the Europa League. So I was looking at it, and you think if you're Spurs or Manchester United, you're looking at that Europa League and thinking it's there to be won. Really, it's not a very deep tournament this year. There's not many big clubs in it. So they should be very confident about it. But when you're drawing 1-1 with FC Twente at home, and your manager's asking for patience after spending 600 million quid in the transfer market since he's come into the club and been there 3 years, I find that a little bit deluded, quite frankly. Dave said Simon Jordan is an arrogant twat. So look, whenever we speak about Simon Jordan, I feel like I have to say I'm very happy and glad for the man that he moved past his cancer and that he's in remission from that. Always want to start off the conversation about Simon Jordan with that, because despite my dislike of the man, I would never ever wish illness upon anyone. So that aside, I don't like him at all. And I especially don't like him sticking his nose into boxing when he clearly knows fuck all about it. I find him extremely arrogant. I find him extremely condescending. And I don't think he's anywhere as intelligent as he likes to believe he is. As is always on display when Eddie Hearn destroys him when they go in to talk about boxing. But, on the other hand, I love Darragh McAnthony, who I guess is another strong opinionated guy. But I find Darragh far more pleasant, you know. And I've gotten to know Darragh McAnthony a little bit, and I can tell he's a really nice guy. But I don't know. I just don't like Jordan. I just don't. Ten Hag is simply there to drain the funds from United's account into the Ajax one, then rejoin Ajax and have a nice budget to work with. He's just... I don't know. I look at Ten Hag and I just don't see what's redeeming about him. You know, you look at, let's say, contrast it to Arne Slot, who's come in, and the players are already on side, speaking highly about him, impressed with what he's doing, hasn't fallen out with anybody. And then you look at Ten Hag. He came into United. I think he tried to lay a marker down with the whole Ronaldo situation. And since that, he's brought in and got rid of Sancho. Or the club brought in and he got rid of Sancho. Ronaldo came and went. Rashford started to show a little bit of form again and was dropped. You just have to say, I'm just not convinced by him. And if I was a United fan, I would want him gone. But I had seen some stories last night, and I'm sure you guys seen them as well, linking Solskjaer back, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that he'd love to go back and manage United again someday. It's mad how some United fans are already talking themselves into that being a good thing, isn't it? Like they've forgotten about what happened when Solskjaer was there. Do you think Man City will get charged? Well, they're already charged. We should point that out. This is the hearing to defend the charges. And look, I don't know. For me to sit here and say I know definitely how this is going to play out, I don't. My fear is the same as everybody else's, that they'll find a way through sheer financial means of hiring the top-notch. Do you know what? I'm going to be very blunt about this because I think it's time I speak about it from a more blunt sense. The Premier League at the moment don't seem able to enforce the rules of a league that they govern. And I find it very disconcerting that outside forces from another country, not to have a dig at Saudi or any one country, but from any other country, can come in and start almost telling the country and the league what they're going to do in their league. Because then they don't like rules. They don't like being told no. I think, from the outside, as an Irish person, that the English government, the British government, need to grow a pair here. Because it's not going to end well. Let's say City win this scenario. Let's say actually just the associated party transactions part of this, which there was supposed to be a vote on yesterday in the Premier League. That vote was pulled at the last minute. Lots of speculation and reporting now that Manchester City have had some success in challenging the associated party transactions. And to just make sure I clarify this isn't part of the 115 charges, although there is some crossover. Associated party transactions simply means that you can bring in sponsorship from sympathetic companies or companies owned by your ownership at inflated prices, and there's nothing that the Premier League can do about it, despite them knowing it isn't fair market value. The rules were brought in after PSO was set up, after the takeover of Newcastle. Manchester City have challenged this, and if they defeat it, there's nothing to stop Newcastle or Manchester City taking in sponsorship deals of hundreds of millions from companies that none of us have ever heard of to have unlimited wealth to fund their team, and there's fuck all that you can do about it. Because they've come in and dictated to another country how the rules are going to work and thrown a shit ton of money at it, and political influence most likely. And I don't like it. I cannot imagine it happening elsewhere. I cannot imagine anybody going into the NFL and dictating to the NFL and challenging their rules. It's the Premier League and the rules that everyone signed up to. How are they able to challenge rules that you've signed up to? I know that somebody's going to say there's a loophole in law or something like that, but it just seems so counterintuitive that the best league in the world, the most watched league in the world, the richest league in the world, is about to be potentially undermined by outside interference coming in and making a mockery of the laws of a different country. I find it very fucking disturbing. And if successful, I don't know where the Premier League goes from here, because it loses credibility. It loses its selling point. And I would promise you, I would feel this way if this was an Irish company or an American company. I don't give a shit that it's Saudi or Abu Dhabi. It doesn't mean anything to me because I've nothing against the people of Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi. But the rules are the rules. You signed up for them. You came in to play. It just baffles me. It really does. I don't understand how the Premier League are able to be undermined with their own rules that everyone signed up for. I'd love to know how you guys feel about it, because as an outsider, you look at it and you think, it used to be a lot of Russian money in London. That money has been pulled out. That money has been replaced with other investments into London and money into the UK, and it just all feels grubby. And it feels like, once again, football isn't being very transparent, because all these meetings are held in private and we don't get any information on them. I mean, let me just paint you a picture, and I'm going to be really blunt about this again. if Man City win this associated party transactions case, or indeed defeat the Premier League on the 115 odd charges, what's the point for the rest of us? What's the point for every other club in the Premier League? They might as well fuck off and join the Super League, because the Premier League will become a joke. That's how strong I think this situation could become, and that's how worrying it is, because the Premier League has built itself up into being, in my opinion, the best league in the world. And yes, you can talk about the fact that some clubs have been more successful than others over the years, and some clubs have been able to use their financial and commercial power. But ultimately, what these people are saying is that they're coming in and they don't agree with the rules of law. They don't agree with what was already agreed and they signed up to, and they're challenging it. And if they challenge it and they win, it's what do you do from there? They can just keep throwing money at it. Keep buying league title after league title after league title after league title, and it becomes a pissing contest for the richest countries in the world. And that's not what sport should be about. Look, again, I could go on about this for hours and hours and hours and hours, but ultimately it boils down to, you signed up to the damn rules. Obey the rules or fuck off. That's the way I look at it as a fan. And I would, again, it's got nothing to do where these people are from. It's to do with, there is another 19 clubs in the Premier League that need to be looked after here, and more clubs that will come up and go down for the Premier League in years to come. The entire credibility of the league could go out the window because of the greed and wealth of one participant in the league just pushing this narrative, and it really riles me up. Right, so 2 of the charges are related to them claiming 61.5 million when they only received 8 million from Etihad for 2 years running. I've seen all those emails, mate. I've seen their Spiegel reporting. I've seen exactly what you're talking about. It's just so worrying. It's so worrying, because if they win it, I don't know what the other clubs are going to do. Because if you're Liverpool or Manchester United or Everton or Spurs or Arsenal, and let's say that Manchester City beat the charges, or even the associated party transactions thing, it just becomes a pissing contest between themselves and Newcastle's owners to see who can spend the most money. And that's it. Nobody else will be able to compete, because as I've warned for many, many years, if you're not running it as a business, if you're not running it as a real investment to make money or break even, nobody can compete when there's no jeopardy for City's owners or Newcastle's owners when they've bottomless ends of money. They can just keep throwing money at it over and over and over again. There's no jeopardy involved. And if there's no jeopardy involved, what's the fucking point? Rachel, thank you for gifting a membership, mate. Appreciate you. The Shankly Legacy, thank you, mate. Appreciate you. Look, I'm sure you guys probably feel the same about the whole City stuff, and it just doesn't sit well, does it? The football just doesn't like transparency. You know, the World Cup is about to be awarded, it looks like, in 2034 to Saudi Arabia. Again, a tournament that will once again see no alcohol being sold at it, that will once again probably see it moved, even though they're talking about still doing it in the summer. And you just think, the people that are running the sport in the really powerful positions seemingly just are just selling us all out for just more money, more wealth, more power. And when is enough going to be enough? Football, and I thought that they would have copped this after the Super League, is the fan sport. It is. And if City get away with this, I don't blame Liverpool or United or Arsenal or anybody else if they pack up and fuck off. Because what's the point? What's the point if you're playing against a stacked deck? If football continues to be destroyed by state-funded sports-watch clubs, I seriously have to consider how much of my time, emotions and effort I put into it in the future. The game will be gone. It will. And not just, again, I really want to make this clear. My argument here is not about particularly Saudi or particularly Abu Dhabi. I've got nothing against the people of those countries. Nothing. It's against any governmental interference in football, or any state funds owning football clubs. I've been against it from day one, and I'll never not be against it. Do you think we sign a player in January? I think it might depend on how we're placed at that point with regards to injuries, the load that's been placed on the likes of Gravenberch, Soboslai, McAllister. If we keep our injuries down to a minimum, probably not, because it's not a great market to go out there to try and sign players in. So if things are going okay, I wouldn't be expecting much business in January, to be honest with you. Should we adopt the German league model? I think it's too late, because I think the 50+1 rule, you look at the value of Liverpool now. So if fans wanted to buy 51% of Liverpool, you're going to probably have to come together and come up with about £2.5 billion. And that's a lot for fans to raise. So I think the ship has sailed for fan ownership models. As much as it is a very enviable position to see the Bundesliga in, that their fans have that ability to really defend their clubs and have a say on the future direction of the league and their clubs. I just think the ship has sailed for English clubs because of the valuations now. Jacob said, is the Wolves game getting rescheduled because they're sick? I don't think so, no. I think certainly there's a virus going through the Wolves squad, and it looks like they are struggling to put out a very strong team, but I don't believe it's going to be rescheduled, no. If people don't see why foreign governments owning English clubs is a problem, then they don't really need to reevaluate how they examine the world. Exactly. Like, the rules of the league are there. They're signed up for and agreed by everyone. And once you've signed up and agreed to them, and there is nothing blatantly illegal about it, I don't understand the whole process of this and what we're going through. They're trying to undermine the very league that they're in. And it feels like the other 18 or 19 clubs here are going to have to make a stance on this if they get through and get away with it all. And I don't think we've seen the end of this. If City win this battle with the Premier League, I'm expecting a reaction from the other clubs. Something potentially big, because they're not going to want to just go and compete and throw money away, seeing them just do what they want. The Shankly Legacy said, an example needs to be set. If you don't obey the rules and cheat, then there has to be punishments or it'll keep happening. Exactly. And again, mate, another point here is, look at the Evertons of this world, the Leicesters of this world, the Forests of this world, the Villas of this world, who all had to adjust their budget, sell players, or take points deductions for far lesser offences. So what's really worrying about all of this is just both sides of it, if I'm being honest with you. So let's say they get away with it. Well, we've already covered how we'll all feel if they get away with it. But let's say they don't. Let's say they are found guilty. Then you were talking once again about an unprecedented situation where what is the right punishment? Because the Premier League have made a bit of a rod for their own backs here by dishing out the 10 points to Everton for 1. So what do you do with Manchester City then if even half of these charges are proven? Because most of this, if you boil it down, and again, I'm not a solicitor, but it feels like a lot of this is a fraud case. Misreporting of numbers. That's fraud, basically. So yeah, it's big. Biggest sporting scandal of my lifetime, potentially. SG said, I think a 2-point deduction per guilty charge. They can't do that though, because they've given others 10. You cannot give Everton a 10-point deduction for one thing and then City do the same thing only for... And again, this is an important point to this as well. At least Everton and other clubs worked with the Premier League. Some of these Manchester City ones have been that they have obstructed the Premier League, that they have misrepresented the numbers. It's far more serious. So, I think... look, I'm going to say it as I see it. If they're found guilty and they're proven, they deserve to be given the strictest possible punishment, whether that's expulsion, whether that's multiple points deductions over multiple years. I cannot speak strongly enough to somebody that comes in, denies, sticks two fingers up to everybody else, and doesn't show any remorse whatsoever. If City had have said, yeah, okay, we're guilty of some of these, and pleaded out with some of them, and put their hands up to some of them, I think at least people would have gone, they were caught and they put their hands up. But this whole Lance Armstrong-esque kind of, no, we didn't do nothing, until it's proven, and then go, well, actually, yeah. It stinks. It's not just the money. The Premier League need to consider the political implications of charging the City Group. It could undermine England and UAE relations. Yeah, and that stinks, doesn't it? Like, I think there was a 10 billion investment in green technology from an Abu Dhabi company into the UK. And that has no place in sport. Us having to have that conversation, Bloom, about the impact of relations between the United Kingdom and the UAE should not belong in sport. It shouldn't be part of this conversation. It's actually so grubby that it is. And it speaks more to the mismanagement of the UK finances that they need this level of investment, that I think it's even more concerning there again. The whole thing from top to bottom just feels grubby, greasy, and certainly not in the best interest of sport. Wayne said, Chelsea, Arsenal, biggest spenders in world football last 4 seasons. That's okay, though. Again, I think you're comparing apples and oranges here. The money, Manchester City aren't being charged with overspending. Again, you need to look at the charges. So, Chelsea do have a case to answer. They have a case to answer around misreported numbers from the Roman Abramovich era, and they will probably be hit with a transfer ban. And it looks to me like that's why they've stocked up with players in the last few years. But again, it's very different because you're talking about with City somebody who's denying any wrongdoing, and not that they've overspent, it's that they've said that money that they've brought in came from one source when maybe it was another, or that money they were paying Mancini was going to a different account. It's how they've gotten around the rules rather than flat out just overspent. What's going on with the Wolves players? Again, there's a virus going through the Wolves camp, mate. There's an illness going through the Wolves camp. Some of the players haven't been able to train. That's pretty much where we're at with the Wolves stuff. Sarah, absolutely happy to give you a try as a mod, my friend. No problem. 1 second, let me add that on for you. There you go. Use it wisely, Sarah, my friend. Use it wisely. Will the match still happen? I believe so. Yeah, I don't believe there's any danger of being called off. And this is where I would point back to how we were treated. Remember when we had the Club World Cup and we had players on the other side of the world and we had to put out the under-21s and the under-18s against Aston Villa in the League Cup? Nobody had any fucking sympathy for us, did they? So, you know, shoes on the other foot now. We remember how we were treated, so I expect the game to go ahead. No disrespect to Wolves and their players. I mean, none intended, but it is what it is, you know. We were at the other end of this at one point, and it wasn't even of our making, you know. People bend the rules every day in life, and City got around it intelligently. So fraud's intelligent, Gethin, is it? Because that's what this case is ultimately, bro. If you think somebody committing fraud is intelligent, then I'm glad that you're not in law enforcement, mate. Because ultimately that's what this is all about with City. You know, it is at its heart fraud. The charges, I mean. I'm not saying they've committed it because they're entitled to their hearing, same as anybody else. But again, what aboutery is bullshit, because it just allows this shit to happen. If you're saying, well, this person did this, and then another person that they're not related. The whole incident isn't related. You can't just say someone else bend the rules, so let them away with everything. That's not how society works. And also, when you get to that point of what about, where you've lost the debate because you're not arguing, or you're not debating on the facts, and you're not debating in good spirit or conscience. Society does work like that, sadly. Does it? So if I'm up in court for murdering somebody, I can say I can get away with it because I can say, well, what about O.J. Simpson? Does that work as my legal argument? Sorry, Your Honour, you might have me up here for murdering my wife, but O.J. Simpson got away with it, so, strike it off there, Judge, I'm away, see you later. Not how life works, mate, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, actually. Intelligent, if you can get away with it, I'm guessing you would. Again, you obviously don't know anything about me as a person, then, guessing if you think I'd get away with it if I could. Very much not. And they haven't gotten away with it. They've been charged. You seem to be neglecting that very important point here, bro. They've been charged with 115 charges. So they aren't as intelligent as they like to believe, because the evidence has already been uncovered and they've been charged. What's intelligent about that? The really intelligent people don't ever come into law enforcement or problems because they are actually clever and circumvent the rules. But getting caught, there's nothing clever about getting caught, mate. It's but look, if you want to sympathise with that type of behaviour, you're free to do it. I just think it's despicable, personally. Can I give a shout out to your friend? No, because it's not even... How am I... It's 3 letters, so no. Give me the dude's name, but it's no. Chris said, this has nothing to do with intelligence. It is despicable, but that's a matter of morality. Well, it's a matter of rules here, Chris. Actually, quite frankly, mate. The rules are in place. If they've broken the rules, morality doesn't come into it either. It's the rules. What's your opinion on capping transfer fees and salaries? Also, the big 5 leagues getting only 2 spots in the Champions League. What others get 1 to create more parity? So there's definitely a conversation, Nav, to be had about the overall equity in football and the power imbalance financially in the game. There certainly is something to that. Let's just use your talking point there about a salary cap. So I don't believe personally that a salary cap will be enforceable, because nothing we've seen so far in football with regards to FFP or profit and sustainability, all of it seems to fall away under challenges. So I don't have any faith that the rules still won't be circumvented with a salary cap. That's my own take on it. But I do agree that you've made a very good point that there is certainly an inequality within football that needs to be adjusted. The power balance needs to be adjusted. I just don't know how you go about it, mate, to be honest. Michael said, I think the idea is that they thought they could get away with it, thus they did it. I just hope the Premier League uses the other teams' point deductions as a measuring stick. Well, they have to. They would have to use... what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the word I'm looking for when there's already something in law? Precedent. Yes, they'd have to use the precedent of other charges. Again, no, mate, I don't believe the game is called off tomorrow, and it sounds really harsh when we say this, but like it's kind of tough shit if Wolves players are sick. Again, I don't have any sympathy after the way we were treated against Aston Villa. My tolerance level for feeling sorry for anybody else at a football club if they've got a virus or whatever. There was no goodwill towards us when we had to put out the kids against Villa in the League Cup, when we were over playing in the Club World Cup on the other side of the world. So I don't have any sympathy anymore for others after how we were treated. So a few other things to go back over, by the way, tonight. Christian Falk said that Liverpool have sent scouts to watch Merlin Roll of Freiburg. Don't know how often we've watched them or how serious the interest is, but there you go. Luis Diaz, speaking a little bit about working under Arne Slot, he said, as a coach, he's been spectacular from the first day I arrived and we had contact. Fabrizio Romano and many others reporting that Anthony Gordon is very close to signing a new deal with Newcastle that will keep him there till 2029. The big story on our channel tonight is Gabriel Agbonlahor saying that I know Salah is going. I've got a source that told me Salah is definitely leaving on a record contract with Saudi. He'll earn more money than Ronaldo and be the face of the Saudi Pro League. I've got a source that told me that Gabriel Agbonlahor is in negotiations to become the next Hamburglar. They're bringing it back from McDonald's, and my source tells me that Gabriel Agbonlahor is going to give up TalkSport and become the Hamburglar. So I wish him all the best with it. I can only assume that this is absolutely right because nobody ever says anything without being 100% nailed on, right? So my source tells me that. Let's see if it's true or not. Does anybody remember the Hamburglar actually, or am I showing my age there? Garfu said, take the Conference League spot to the winner of the EFL Championship. Yeah, look, it's there's definitely something to be said about the Conference League and letting it go down the pyramid a little bit. So, for instance, this is the first season, if I'm not mistaken, that an Irish team is going to be in the league stage of the Conference League. So, when I heard the Conference League was being brought into fruition, I thought, oh, this will help the likes of the League of Ireland and stuff like that. But so far, we hadn't been able to really get teams into it. So, yeah, I think if you're going to use the Conference League to give clubs more European opportunities, why not? Something mad like that, yeah, why not? Even a playoff. You could have the winner of the EFL playing off against the winner of the League Cup or something like that for a spot on it. I don't know. Just get creative. You say City ain't got away with it, but like I said, in my mind, they have. They won't need to give back all them Premier League trophies. So, I would look at it like this, Gethin. If they got punished, right, and let's say that the charges hold, I want a big exclamation point. Sorry, that's an exclamation point, not an asterisk. An exclamation point beside all those years that says nobody won the league those years because City were found to have cheated. That's what I would like to happen. So when everyone looks back at the history books, it says no winner that year, and then you go, why was there no winner that year? And you read up and you see it. I wouldn't certainly, and look, I'm just giving you my perspective, and I wouldn't want the league title belatedly handed to us because it was stripped off another club. You didn't get to enjoy it. You didn't get the celebration of it. So, personally, I wouldn't want it. But others differ on that one. Wolves will play most of their youth team tomorrow, said Michael Manning. Cool. Hopefully, so you know what? We're saying all this now, but God, imagine we didn't win. Imagine we went there tomorrow, they played a load of young players, and we ended up drawing 0-0. Yeah, that was. So hopefully we get the win tomorrow. Most importantly, that's what it's all about, is going there tomorrow and getting the 3 points. Danny said, remember when the Spurs squad got hit with food poisoning right before the North London derby at the end of the season? There was a Champions League place at stake and they still had to play the game. Yep. I was trying to remember. I knew there was a scenario like that, Danny, but I couldn't exactly remember what it was, so I didn't bring it up. But yeah, that, and of course, as I said, we got shafted through no fault of our own in the League Cup. What we got? I don't think you can just take a sick leave for a Premier League fixture. No, I don't think so. Once you can put out a team that can represent your club, be that under 18s, under 21s, once you have enough players to put out a senior team, then I think that's the way it is, unfortunately. Gethin, we were having that discussion the other night, mate, on the channel. I think I asked it to David Lynch as well. It was really refreshing in the League Cup to see no VAR because, you know, when the goals go in, you just quickly look at the linesman. If there's no flag, job's a good one, goal given. Now, we benefit from it, from being honest, because I do think Gakpo would have been offside in our first goal in the build-up to it, but it was just so nice not have to wait a minute to see if we're going to get the dreaded VAR signal and have to wait to see if we go back 6 or 7 phases of play for something. Yeah, it was nice just to be able to celebrate it. Favourite game I've ever seen live in person? Istanbul. If you're talking about a Liverpool League game, then probably 4-0 against Everton. Back when Brendan Rodgers was manager, we played them. It's the one that Lukaku did his ACL in. Beat them 4-0. And at that time, we were in a kind of race with them for the last Champions League spot. And that was a very enjoyable night at Anfield. I was at the very back of the old main stand for that one. Really good. Adam, how are you? Said, hey Craig, mate, love this Anfield family. What would be your current Premier League 11? Oh God, mate, let me think on that one. I don't know. I have to have a think and scribble it down before I'll be able to throw one together for you. Do you know what? I'm going to put that in my to-do list for the October international break. I already have to do the Premier League all-time manager top 10 that I promised somebody I'd do. So I'll stick that in my notes, mate, and do my 11 of the season so far. Pascus said, Anthony Taylor is officiating tomorrow. Let's see what the PGOML have got in store for us. Well, maybe we can go to the United States government or the FBI and ask them, can we borrow some of that lube that Diddy won't be needing anymore? And maybe we can lube ourselves up to be ready for Anthony Taylor and the PGMOL. Perfect idea. Conference spot to the EFL trophy winner. Yeah. Look, I'm all for these type of things, mate, because it is a good idea to give the clubs that maybe don't get the chance to play in Europe often the opportunity to play at that level of a tournament. Even if they introduce another one, let's say, for a European competition for second tier European teams or something. Can we blame Endo for the Kwanzaa OG? I don't think we need to blame anybody, mate. It was just one of those really unfortunate incidents, wasn't it? Nobody intentionally did anything there. Endo was just trying to clear it in a congested penalty area. Certainly Kwanzaa could do nothing about it. He didn't even know what really happened. So yeah, I think we're just going to have to file that one under unfortunate. Jimmy said, just joined, what about Salah? Do you know what? I'm going to finish up in a minute, but before I do, I'm going to run through all the news for everybody, just in case you've come in a little bit late, so bear with me. So, we started off tonight and we spoke about Christian Falk saying that Liverpool had sent scouts to watch Merlin Roll of Freiburg. Again, doesn't go into how serious that interest is or whatever, just that we'd sent scouts to watch. Then we spoke about Luis Diaz having some nice words to say about Arne Slot. He said, as a coach, he's been spectacular from the first day I arrived. We had contact. Then we spoke a little bit about Anthony Gordon about to sign a new deal with Newcastle till 2029. The big story of the night was Gabriel Agbonlahor saying, I know Salah is going. I've got a source that told me Salah is definitely leaving on a record contract with Saudi. He'll earn more than Ronaldo and be the face of the Saudi Pro League. So my sources tonight are telling me, mate, that Gabriel Agbonlahor has agreed to deal with Ronald McDonald to become the new Hamburglar. I don't think it's public knowledge just yet, but you got to trust me, bro. My sources are telling me Gabriel Agbonlahor, Hamburglar, here we go. Also, we spoke about a virus is sweeping through the Wolves camp and that they've a few players who weren't able to play, take part in training. Then there was a report that said, from Craig Houlden, I believe, of the Daily Mail, that said Liverpool, Newcastle and United remain interested and are keeping tabs on Ederson from Atlanta. On top of that, we just had confirmation from Arne Slot that, speaking about Alisson Becker tomorrow, he said, we think he's okay to return. We think he's available. We're really happy with Alisson being back. We did well in the 2 games without him, so another example of me having 2 or 3 options in some positions. That's pretty much everything we went through tonight. So look, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to head off and grab a shower and get ready for tomorrow. We'll be live at 4:30 for the watch along tomorrow. Don't forget, in our match reaction tomorrow, you're going to get the chance to submit your player ratings. So keep an eye out for the link that's going to be at the top of the chat in the match reaction tomorrow. Until then, enjoy your Friday night, and I will catch up with you tomorrow at 4:30, where we'll take you right the way through the game, match reaction, player ratings, and everything else that you would expect from us on a match day. Much appreciated for your support again tonight. And yeah, we'll catch you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.